The fires of Ragnarök had long since cooled, yet the Ghost of Sparta found no silence within them. The 9 realms had survived. Odin was dust. The chains of prophecy lay shattered across a world reborn. And still, the blades of chaos burned against his back, refusing to let his sins sleep. Kratos walked alone beneath a sky he no longer recognized. The stars above Midgard had shifted, or perhaps he had. Atreus was far away, carving his own legend. Faye's memory rested in the wind. There should have been peace. There was not. Then the tree appeared. It rose from nothing, colossal and golden, its branches devouring the horizon like a second sun. Kratos had walked among giants and slain gods, yet the sight of it stilled his breath. Before instinct could command his hands to the axe, the ground beneath him fractured into veins of shining light. The earth opened, and a sea of gold swallowed him whole. He awakened on soil that felt neither living nor dead. Above him spread the impossible tree, glowing with a light that promised salvation and hid something rotting beneath its roots. This was not Midgard. This was a wound dressed in beauty. He walked, and the world revealed itself. Corpses of warriors littered the fields, killed by other warriors who still fought over their bones. Ruins whispered of forgotten majesty. The air tasted of ambition turned foul. A patrol found him. Soldiers in tarnished armor, bearing the sigil of a distant king, mistook him for another wandering fool seeking a crown. Their laughter died in an instant. The Leviathan axe rose once, and their formation collapsed into frost and silence. One survivor fled screaming that an ancient god had come. Far away, in a castle of stone and stolen limbs, Godrick the Grafted heard the news and smiled. He gave a single command. The red-marked warrior would be taken alive. His strength would become Godrick's own. Kratos moved through Limgrave as a shadow moves through fading candlelight, unhurried, unbothered by the trembling of the world around him. Everywhere he walked, he saw the same disease wearing different faces. Villages huddled around decaying nobles who called themselves blessed. Warriors carved each other apart in muddy fields, whispering prayers to a light that had never once answered them. Grace, they called it. Kratos had another word: chains. He had seen this sickness before, on the marble steps of Olympus, in the golden courts of Asgard. Gods who fattened themselves on mortal suffering and named it worship. His jaw tightened with every mile, and the blades of chaos hummed as though remembering their old purpose. Near a lonely site of grace, a woman in tattered robes approached him. Her name was Malenia, and her single open eye studied him with something between wonder and unease. She had guided many Tarnished, she said. Every one of them had been a thread woven into the greater will's design. But when she looked upon Kratos, she saw no thread at all. His soul did not answer the Erd tree. To fate itself, he simply did not exist. Before she could say more, the horns of Stormveil sounded. They came in numbers meant to drown mountains. Grafted beasts stitched from screaming men. Elite knights in gilded armor. Archers perched upon ridges like carrion birds. Kratos did not sneak. He did not turn. He walked toward the gates. The battle became a lesson written in frost and fire. The Leviathan axe froze entire ranks mid-charge. The blades of chaos unraveled abominations that had once been human. And then Godrick stepped forward, grinning, certain that another trophy had arrived to be sewn onto his flesh. He learned the difference between stealing power and earning it. Kratos dismantled him piece by grotesque piece, methodical, without cruelty. When it ended, the Great Rune shimmered at his feet. He stepped over it and kept walking. Somewhere far above the golden branches, something ancient stirred, uncertain for the first time. Word of Godrick's fall traveled faster than any raven could fly. In distant halls, demigods who had spent centuries hating one another paused mid-conspiracy to listen. A conqueror had come, they whispered. A warrior who tore down a demigod and refused the crown that followed. The rumor was more terrifying than the deed. Men who wanted thrones could be predicted. Men who did not could not be bought. Kratos pressed onward. He crossed the shattered bridges of Liurnia, where sorcerers still argued over stars while their kingdom drowned around them. He climbed into Caelid, and there the horror deepened. The scarlet rot had eaten the sky itself, leaving crimson clouds hanging like open wounds. The bones of Radahnn's warhorses lay half swallowed by the earth. Somewhere beyond the ridges, the echo of Malenia's bloom still lingered in the air, a perfume of grief. Along the way, Tarnished with hollow eyes began to follow him at a distance, not as soldiers, as witnesses. They had lost faith in the Erdtree long ago. They spoke to him in fragments, of Queen Marika, of the Shattering, of a god named Radahn who wore her face. They spoke of the greater will that lived beyond the stars and moved the world like pieces on a stone board. Kratos listened without answering. He had heard this story before. Only the names had changed. In a forest silvered by an unnatural moon, he met her. Ranni the witch, cloaked in cold light, forearms folded with the patience of centuries. She did not kneel. She did not flatter. She simply looked at him and named what he was. A man who had already killed the gods that owned his fate. A man who could not be read. She told him what the others feared to say. The greater will was afraid. Every attempt to see his future returned only silence. Every prophecy written about him unwrote itself. As he neared Leyndell, the world began to resist. The Erdtree's light turned harsh, almost accusing. Omens crawled from the sewers in numbers no chronicle had recorded. The two fingers issued commands no priest could obey. Then Ranni whispered the final truth. The greater will had awakened its remaining demigods, all of them, at once. Morgott sealed the capital. Malenia stirred within the Haligtree. And far beyond the stars, older gods opened their eyes and turned them toward a single mortal walking below. The lands between held its breath. For the first time since the Shattering, enemies became allies. Morgott, the Omen king who had defended the capital in secret for 100 lonely years, rode forth openly beneath a banner of gold. Malenia, blade of a slumbering god, rose from the Haligtree, though the rot devoured her with every step. Dragons uncoiled from mountains that had forgotten their names. Knights polished armor no song had celebrated in an age. All of them turned their faces toward one man. Outside Leyndell, the sky darkened with wings and steel. Kratos stood at the head of a road paved in bone, alone and yet not alone. The Leviathan axe rested in one hand, the blades of chaos coiled at his hips. He was older now, slower to anger, every breath measured, every step chosen. The armies broke against him like waves against a cliff. Morgott came first. His great sword blazed with holy fire, and his voice thundered not with malice but with grief. He fought for a broken order because it was the only mother he had ever known. Kratos recognized the wound in him. He had once bled that same wound on the slopes of Olympus. Their duel became a conversation without words, blade answering blade, until Morgott lowered his weapon at last. He did not fall in hatred. He fell in understanding, releasing a devotion that had only ever caged him. Then came Malenia. Her golden prosthetic caught the light like a fallen sunrise. She warned him once. She always warned them once. Kratos did not flinch. When the scarlet Ionia bloomed and the world drowned in petals of red ruin, he walked through it. Blood poured from his skin. His lungs burned. Still he pressed forward, because pain had raised him. When at last he stood over her, he did not gloat. He gave her the honest battle no one else had ever offered. Her final whisper reached him like a prayer. The demigods were never the true enemy. The will that made them was. He climbed then to the roots of the Erdtree itself, where the Elden beast unfurled in ribbons of galaxy and gold. It was not a creature. It was a decree given flesh. It was every command a god had ever laid upon a mortal soul. Kratos answered with both weapons at once. Frost and fire, past and present. Vengeance and mercy braided into a single motion. When the beast fell, the golden light did not crown him. He stepped away from the throne. He had not come to rule. He had come to end the lie of ruling. Dawn came softly to the lands between, and it did not belong to any god. The Erdtree still stood, but its light had changed. Gone was the imperious gold that judged every soul beneath it. In its place glowed something quieter, almost apologetic, as if the tree itself had learned humility. Tarnished woke without grace guiding their steps. For the first time in ages beyond counting, no invisible hand tugged them toward a distant throne. Some wept, some raged, some simply walked, discovering the strange weight of choosing their own road. Freedom, Kratos knew, was heavier than any chain. He had carried both. He understood the difference. He did not linger. He walked the ruined avenues of Lindell one final time, past the fallen banners and the silent statues, past the places where kings had once demanded worship. Nothing followed him but wind. Ranni met him at the edge of a quiet field, where a rift had begun to open in the shape of a golden wound in the air. She did not thank him. He would not have accepted it. Instead, she spoke plainly. Every age of this world had traded one master for another. He had done something none of them had dared. He had left the seat empty. Kratos looked at her a long moment. He said only that power, when it forgets who it serves, becomes another prison. Then he stepped into the rift and was gone. Behind him, the lands between began to write a story no prophecy had authored. Kingdoms rose and fell by mortal hands. Songs were sung of a nameless warrior who had broken the heavens and asked for nothing in return. Far above, in the black sea between stars, something ancient turned its gaze. Another outer god, older than the greater will, older than the Erd tree, older than memory itself. It had watched a mortal overturn divinity twice now. It began, slowly, to consider a third design. And somewhere the Ghost of Sparta walked on.